Okay. So now, toting knives and guns in the South is illegal. So toting knives and guns in the South is legal, even at school, as the blade isn't over 5 inches. While people are spreading misinformation about the white boy being high, yeah, and people running with that. I'm sure there's some type of surveillance footage. It was a privately owned stadium. Now, listen, listen, my family. The footage can can also work against Carmelo Anthony. So don't automatically think because there's footage, it's going to be positive. It can be negative, like because what if it shows that Carmelo was the aggressor and then sat down? You see what I'm saying? So the footage can be worse. All right. Um, there are only one way to face white supremacists is with aggression. These two brothers decided to try to assault our brother Carmelo. He defended himself. Yeah, he did defend himself, brother. But there's in Texas, and see that's the thing. Like he did defend himself, but was it according to the law of Texas? He might have defended himself according to the law of Wyoming, but did he? All that matters is did he defend himself according to the law of Texas? And let's look at it. I got you right here. So now let's look at it because defense in Texas ain't always what you think defense is. Okay, that's why I say you got nigga state law. Okay, so let's hit you with it. Let's hit you with it. All right. So are we gonna be okay? When we read it, then what? Are we gonna argue the law now? Okay, shit. So let's just take the law for what it is, right? Because that's all you got. The law is all you got. I knew it was gonna do that. I hate that. I knew it was gonna do that. All right, let's look at Texas law. Let me stop teasing y'all and look into it. Are y'all ready? Here we are. Texas self-defense laws. Texas law under Texas Penal Code 9.31-9.33 provides robust protections for individuals acting in self-defense use of force. Listen guys, listen. Use of force permits non-deadly force. So Jay, I told you, man, self-defense, yes, there's deadly self-defense force and there's non-deadly use of defense force. Okay, so use of force permits non-deadly force when an individual reasonably believes it's immediately necessary to protect against another's unlawful use of force. So that is under the non-deadly force, right? So if you use deadly force according to this, you're guilty. Let's go to what Carmelo did. Use of deadly force allows deadly force if an individual reasonably believes is necessary to prevent. So look what you got to prevent. You got to reasonably prevent imminent death or serious bodily injury. Okay, somebody touching your shoulders or sending you a threat. That's not. I don't believe that's going to fly. The commission of certain violent crimes such as murder, robbery, or SA. You dig? Assault. Okay, let's go further. Stand your ground. Texas does not impose a duty to retreat if the individual has a legal right to be in the location where the force is used. Castle Doctrine provides that individuals may use force, including deadly force, to protect themselves against intruders in their home, vehicle, or place of business. All right, so here we are. I specifically asked about Karmelo Anthony. Let me sip some coffee while y'all read ahead. My coffee's got a little. It's a little hotter than warm. I'm a little hot. Coffee good. Okay. Application to the Karmelo Anthony case. In April 2025, 17-year-old Karmelo Anthony was charged with the fatal stabbing of fellow student Austin Metcalf during a high school track meet in Frisco, Texas. Key facts. The altercation began when Metcalf asked Anthony to move from an area designated for Metcalf's team. Witnesses reported that Anthony warned Metcalf not to touch him. When Metcalf made physical contact, Anthony allegedly pulled a knife from his backpack and stabbed him. Anthony admitted to the stabbing and questioned whether it could be considered self-defense. Now, that admission right there is shaky. Okay, hopefully, that's just somebody word of mouth. That's, hopefully that's not on video. Or hopefully he didn't ask a police officer that. Okay. Remember when Tupac said that line? I'm not a killer, so don't push me. That's self-defense. Okay. So here we are. Now, are y'all ready? Let me sip some more coffee because y'all about to freak out. Hold on. Let me drink most of this coffee. Okay. Most of that coffee is gone. Well, I drank most of all of it. Okay. Oh, boy. I'm just plugging in my iPad so I can have a good charge for the morning. Let me plug this phone up so I can have a nice charged phone. Here's my phone. Let's get this phone nice and charged. All right, let's get this phone nice and charged. Okay, cool. Now, let me read the chat first before I go further. Golden Brown said Texas laws are designed to oppress Black people because they understand the weakness of Black people. Vegas is looser, vile. I got one better. Ice Cube, quote, rather be judged by 10, carried by 6. Yeah, I like that one. Really, bro. If that was me, I wouldn't say anything to the police until I lawyer up. Too late. Yeah. So, but what could work for him is that he's a kid and he's not sure. You dig? Like, a kid could be afraid because kids are not going to understand self-defense law because most likely your parents ain't teaching, and especially if you FBA. Our parents, I don't know, like our parents don't teach us shit. They don't teach us nothing about credit, investments, LLCs, none of that. It's just self-defense, none of that. So you listen, you guys know. My son 3. When he gets about 7, 8, 9, he gonna know all that stuff. So I'm gonna make sure I break that generational curse of passing down good information. Yes, sir. And you're gonna know all. You're gonna know the LLC is. You're gonna know what sole proprietary is. Sole proprietorship is. You're gonna know all that stuff. You dig? How to cash a check. How to all that stuff. All the because it's gonna be more modern. Like for him, modern stuff. But yeah, and he gonna know what self-defense is too. So he ain't playing with it. All right. Here we are. Analysis under Texas law, immediacy and proportionality. While Anthony may have perceived a threat, the use of deadly force, stabbing in response to being touched or physically moved may be deemed disproportionate, especially if there was no indication of an imminent threat of death or serious bodily injury. Immediacy and proportionality. While Anthony may have perceived a threat, the use of deadly force, stabbing, in response to being touched. Okay, look, Jay, touched or physically moved may be deemed disproportionate, especially if there was no indication of imminent threat of death or serious injury. This is the part, Jay. That's the part, okay? So, and he's 17, it's gonna be difficult. So now, does he get on the stand or does he not? Because, that prosecutor, man, he get on that stand, what made you believe that you were going to die or he was going to beat you to a pulp? Explain to that jury over there. What did he say? What did he do to make you believe that you had to kill him? Jay, this is the part. So this is what I'm trying to say. We got to leave our emotions out and just deal with the law and what is and the facts that's currently collected. Now, again, more facts will come out later, some video footage or testimonies or witnesses you did can help Karmelo out. But right now, the little bit of facts that's gathered right now, it's not looking too good because there was, just because he said get up and touch him because he dared him, let's do the facts. He said, you better not touch me. So he kind of dared him. So he touched him. Okay. Touching is not an indication of an imminent threat or of death or serious bodily injury. I mean, if touching is seen as that, then damn, we all gonna die. You dig? Okay. Duty to retreat. Texas law does not require individuals to retreat if they have a legal right to be present. However, the justification for using deadly force still depends on the reasonableness of the perceived threat. I'm telling you, they're going to have this dude explain why you believe you were going to die. And if he fumbles that, he will be judged by 12. Okay? If he fumbles that, he will be judged by 12. Okay? I'm not done. Provocation. If evidence suggests that Anthony provoked the confrontation or escalated the situation, his claim of self-defense may be undermined. So the touch me thing, I'm telling you, Jay, that might fall in this. That might be seen as escalating situation, because that's like daring somebody to touch you. That's like self-defense. Think about this, chat. Look, let's try to take our emotions out. Let me use Donnie. Donnie, if I don't want you bothering me, right? I'm probably gonna say, Donnie, leave me alone. Go away. Okay? If I don't want you bothering me, that's common. Leave me alone, go away. You're annoying. But you guys know, I mean, let's be real, you guys know. Touch me, see what happens. That's more like I don't know, man. That's more like a threat. So hopefully he did not say that. Hopefully a witness said that. He didn't say it himself. But you see, you guys, you have to see the problems now. Saying touch me, that's not somebody who's afraid. That's somebody who's willing to use force, back, even force. Again, somebody who's actually afraid of bodily harm or a death blow, you're not going to dare the person that, look, chat, think about it. You're using self-defense because you think their actions are going to possibly kill you. So why would I tell somebody to possibly kill me by saying touch me? Why would I want you to possibly kill me by saying touch me? Because you might swing the knife and miss. And if they was coming to bodily kill you, he's going to kill you now, for sure. And now he got self-defense, you did. So, I mean, that touch me statement, listen, if it goes to trial, we're going to revisit this live right here. And if I'm right with these key highlights, listen, I might go to Dan. I might become a lawyer. Conclusion, given the circumstances, Anthony's claim of self-defense under Texas law faces significant challenges. The proportionality of the response and the nature of the threat will be central to the legal proceedings. I'm telling you. I don't think a juror, again, if all we're gonna have is what's available now, I don't think a juror is gonna take him saying touch me as he's fearful of his life at that point. Touch me means I got something for you. Okay. So, but again, we'll see, because now you need a good lawyer, because your lawyer probably could explain away the things I'm saying. Right? He could beat up the prosecution like a young thugger lawyer, Brian Steele. Yeah, so a good lawyer can, help you out. He could clean up the mess a little bit. He can point out. Remember what Brian Steele lawyer did? Brian Steele lawyer for Young Thug had pointed out the incompetence in the Atlanta Police Department, how stupid and goofy they are. He pointed out like these guys like the Three Stooges. Right, so we can't trust their investigation. Look how goofy they are. So that's what he's good at doing, exposing how goofy the state was. And not just that, the judges. He started to show how the judges were biased. You know what I mean? So like, they felt real good about their case. So you would need things like that. You will hope that the prosecution is hiding things on some OJ shit you dig. But for what we know right now, hopefully he beats it. But he looks like a good kid. But man, it's gonna be tough. What do y'all say now? So let me see if this changed anybody's mind. All right. Remember, I don't know. I'm just reading, what the evidence states now in the law for self-defense. And I'm, it's going to trial most likely. I'm not the jury. Yeah, I'm one man. The jury gonna be what, 12? So my opinion means absolutely nothing. I'm not gonna be in that box, the jury box. It means nothing. Some people in the jury box might not care about all that information I brought out. They just care about, they might be emotionally tied. Maybe their son was being bullied. You dig? So that's what matters. My opinion doesn't matter at all. What matters is those people, those 12 that's in that jury box. And if their son's been bullied and died as a result, or got bodily injured, you dig? Most likely he's going to get acquitted. Okay, so let me read some things. A warning and a threat are two different things, brother. If you're scared, if you're scared, I could be wrong. I could be wrong. I'm a human. I could be wrong, right? I make mistakes. I'm wrong all the time. I just felt like, people that scared react different, right? Some people that scared, like they'll pretend like they can fight or they're going to defend themselves, and they're not. So again, I'm just telling you my opinion right now. It can change, right? It can change with more information coming out. And I'm not saying he's done. I think he's facing some serious challenges. I agree with ChatGPT. He's facing some serious challenges. Okay. A warning and a threat are two different things. Yeah, brother, it depends. A good prosecutor can look at that warning as a threat. A good prosecutor can paint that warning as a threat to that jury. Okay. But the only poked on once and ran where the intention he didn't go to the track meet to yeah. So, but like I said, I don't know, the self in Jersey, like there's not really no self defense law. We're working on that right now since Trump is office. But prior to no, the Roe versus Wade reversal had also looked at the tri-state self-defense law and said it was unconstitutional, and it was New Jersey and New York are supposed to be finally being able to exercise their Second Amendment rights and self-defense. Okay, because I know a couple of people in Jersey who were able to get guns, you know what I mean, which is like weird because all of my life it was illegal unless you were a licensed, like, police officer or security guard. Like you ain't had no probation officer, whatever, correct? So you ain't had no damn gun. It's like it's weird to see people with guns in Jersey. Anyway. Yeah, listen, you got to be able to argue both sides, ladies and gentlemen. Don't be stuck in your feelings where you're trying to find a way out for them. You got to also argue the other side, okay? You got to do that because you got to be honest with yourself. You don't want to be biased. Because think about white supremacists. Like they're looking at the other thing. They're looking at, he's just guilty. Like they're not considering Carmelo Anthony could be innocent. They're just considering he's guilty. So we can't be like that we gotta be more reasonable. All right, listen. Let's consider both. Okay. Him saying touch me was a response to what was said or done to him. Once again, you're running with the story the brother put out there. That's wild. Jay Quan, before you pin a story on me, my boy, okay, don't just start lying. All right. I don't know a story. I didn't look into this shit, my boy. All I did was Google self-defense, not Google, ChatGPT self-defense, and I had Google ChatGPT state law, and I wanted ChatGPT assessment on the case. I didn't read shit. I didn't read nobody's statement. I said earlier that I don't like to look at stuff like this because they're controversial, and they have niggas like you responding like that. So that's why I said I don't like to cover these. Donnie, did I say that at the beginning? I said I don't like to cover these controversial stories because when you try to be unbiased, there's some emotional dude in the goddamn chat wilding out. So that's why I say I don't like to cover things like this because you guys are too emotional. You don't want to look at it where, hey man, sometimes we're right, sometimes we're wrong. We're not always wrong. We're not always right. So I didn't look. I don't know what the guy said. I didn't click any news articles. I don't even follow shit like this. I don't follow controversial stuff because you get people like you acting like a fool in the chat because I'm being unbiased. I'm looking at information and I'm reading what self-defense is and I'm looking at what was allegedly stated, comments being said, and you're going off hypotheticals. Your own mouth was believed. You don't believe they got a video. You're the one projecting. You're the one adding evidence that ain't there. Mark Furman. I'm going on what's stated. What people allege to have been said and done. You are the one adding information, Mark Furman. I'm not doing it. I'm going with stated. I'm saying so far what's allegedly collected as evidence, whether it's a witness or Karmelo himself saying something. I don't think that's a good look in a self-defense case. I could be wrong. I'm not a defense lawyer. I'm not Bruce Rivers. I keep giving the disclaimer. I'm just a human being who's looking at some things. That's all. And I don't like the fact he said, touch me. I don't like that. That could be seen, I say with a good DA, that could be seen as provoking. Okay, now to think a DA can't twist that like that, you're being delusional and emotional. I don't like that. So these are learning lessons for us. So we find out because there's a lot of white supremacists that's out there that's looking to harm us. So you need to be aware and and not give the state a weak argument. No, you don't want to make a weak argument strong. So we're learning from this situation in real time. But don't start lying on me and saying I'm going with it. Hell wrong with you, man. That's what you're doing. You said believe and you said footage. Did anybody see any footage? So why is he talking about footage? All right, so you're the one planting evidence, Mark Furman, not me. I'm going off what's already documented. And if I can't be honest on things like this, then that's your problem. So I said over and over and over, I'm not a lawyer. I'm not in the jury box. what I say means absolutely nothing. I can't influence nothing that goes on this, in this case, this trial. I'm just going over available data. I said over and over and over, as more evidence become available, I can change my mind. First of all, what is my mind saying? I'm not saying guilty or innocent. That's what your mind is saying. You're projecting on me. I'm saying it doesn't look good. But guess what? It didn't look good for a young thug either, and he ain't doing no damn time or no more time. He's a free man. So just because it doesn't look good doesn't mean you're going to prison, and just because it looks good doesn't mean you're free. It all depends. I said it before. I'm a broken record now. It all depends on your lawyer, your defense lawyer. And it all depends on how good that DA is, and it also depends on how biased are those people in that jury box. That's what matters. Not unbiased, unprofessional, humble opinion. All right. So I'm gonna always try to give my honest opinion on subjects like this, or even simpler ones, right? Math, UMOR, even simple subjects. I'm trying to give my best, honest, educated opinion. I'm going to try my best not to give y'all an emotional outburst. Okay, that's not what I do. So if y'all can't handle that, then y'all just not truthful people. I wonder what type of skeletons you got. You can't just look at the data and just say, hey, man, it looks, in your mind, it could look like an easy win. Like you said, earlier you said slam dunk. You said that earlier in the chat. You said this is a slam dunk case for Carmelo Anthony. Now, knowing what we know now, do you still believe it's a closed and shut case? Be honest. Now that we know, do you still believe it's slam dunk? Or do you believe it's going to be difficult? That is a sincere, honest question. Let me get that answer. Okay. Let me catch up on comments. Yeah, but that's exactly why, Donnie, I like to cover these controversial black and white cases, because always somebody who just believes black people are always right and white folks are always wrong, regardless of whom and what. Okay, so if we're going to have the conversation, it is best we have an honest, educated, evidence-based conversation. Like we do, unless we just only be honest when it comes to white supremacy and tethers. But when it comes to ourselves, we got to lie and cover and hide evidence like Mark Furman and plant stuff. Okay, so let me catch up on comments. I missed a lot. Okay. Muck said, Texas, like VA, where I am, is stand your ground state. It seems to be a double standard when we decide to defend ourselves. FBA then says, Muck says, the Bible says to try and be peaceful with everyone, which I live by. I never start anything, but I will always defend myself. FBA Vin says, I live in Vegas and understand your ground state, but it's underlying wording you have to watch out for. That is a carry state, but carrying sometimes bring unwanted attention, right? Jaquan says, so the possibility of a broken jaw is bodily injury. I don't know who had the broken jaw. Yeah, y'all all got wrenches. Put the link in the chat and I will pull it up and share it on my screen. Okay, because you said, so the possibility of a broken jaw. Okay, bro, I know you're not saying that. I know you're not like imagining, brother. I hope there's an actual broken jaw. I know you're not imagining a broken jaw. Like, so if he says, "Hey man, get up," are you trying to tell me because he told him to get up that he was going to try to break his jaw? Like, that's crazy. If that's your assessment, that's crazy, bro. No, Metcalf assaulted him twice before he got hit up. Okay. Yeah. So now, hey, Muckbuck, put me on. Put those links in the chat. Let me read those accounts, because if they're saying that in that chat, I said that earlier. I said if a video or witness shows that Metcalf assaulted Carmelo Anthony with that size advantage, I said things can change. Okay, but that's all hypothetical though. But I left it out for how it looks good for Carmelo Anthony and how it looks bad. All right. Anyway, Muck 100, FBA Vince says Muck 100. But in this society, being a righteous FBA man, you lose, so you have to be a wolf in order to stay alive. Some clown, as Tether tried to compare this case to the Botham Jean case. And you see, Lord Maul, I don't even know what the Botham Jean case is. Because again, I don't like to follow these because they're too controversial. And when I give an honest, unbiased opinion, my folks turn on me. Okay. It's on video. What video? So Jay Klein, you might got to call in because you're making claims and I'm not seeing a link. So you mentioned a broken jaw, put the link there. You said there's a video, put the link there. Because if there's video running, the video can work for either one of them. What's on the video? Las Vegas used to be called the Mississippi of the West. Is old white supremacy here. Wow. Golden Brown says Texas laws are designed. Oh, I read that. I'm catching up now. Okay, I'm catching up now. Okay, I'm catching up where I was. I'm catching up. FBA Vince says Vegas is not the worst. I raised two sons here who work heterosexual man, and I'm not a curry. You make it what you want it to be. My brother, I love Vegas. Okay. Oh, somebody was acting like Mayweather was like Jamaican. So I told him, like, hey man, I gotta hear this one calling, because I have a little more insight on Mayweather that most people don't have. Okay. So I was trying to play possum. I was like, yo, really? Wow, okay. He's Jamaican? Okay, man. You call in, yo, educate me. I never heard that before. So I'm trying to like bait him in to call in. So it won't be tonight, I guess. So maybe tomorrow he can like try some pseudo argument that Mayweather's Jamaican, so I can cook him, because I know some things about Mayweather that most people won't know, because it's not like public. Okay, yes, I'll cook him on Mayweather. I will cook him on Mayweather for sure. He didn't just get touched; he got yoked up. Muck says that he didn't have to. That's the point. A minute. Yeah. So Muck and Jay, I need y'all to put the link in the chat so I can read. So you guys are saying this happened. That means there's a video that you guys must have watched, or a witness said that, or even Carmelo could have said that. But let me read it though, because I don't want to be miseducated. I don't want to quote you guys and look like a fool on somebody's podcast. Okay. Yeah, the eminent word. It was some strong words. His twin also approached him. He probably thought they were about to bang him. See, but Muckbuck, that's his imagination, bro. I don't think self-defense. I don't think you can use your imagination, because in that case, white folks gonna kill us out wholesale. I thought he was gonna take my purse, so I blew his head off. Yeah, not the imagination thing, bro. That ain't gonna work. If that works, and white supremacists is gonna take us out on a regular. Oh my God, I locked my door, but he went and tied his shoe, and I thought he was grabbing the gun out of his shoe, and I killed him. Yeah, no, that imagination thing, I don't think that's gonna stand. Yeah, so Jay Quan is on some old. He didn't crash out with his imagination. He said, LOL, you believe those big ass white boys were no threat? They couldn't beat him to a pulp or break his jaw. Oh, so now see, this is brother. I hope you don't practice self-defense on what you're trying to sell us, because we're gonna be doing a lot about you. Like, damn, Jay Quan, you heard about Jay Quan? Yeah, man, shit. Let me ask GPT, what's his chances? It's gonna say Jaquan 007 should have listened to Unbiased Sports and Donnie, Unbiased Ron and Donnie, about not using your imagination in self-defense. There has to be an imminent threat of death or bodily harm. So if you guys are telling me you have some information where they had, something physical had to happen for but I just gave y'all a case in point of a white guy being pushed down in the water. Y'all just ignored that. I got a case where a white, it's called like the river or something. It was just last summer. It was just last summer. I followed that thing. It was last summer. I just told y'all there was a case of a white man who was physically being pushed on camera. On camera. They had the video of the stabbing. They had the video of the bullying. Hey Donnie, they showed the video in court of the guy being bullied. They're pushing him down in the water. They're mocking him. So everything Jay is fantasizing about, this actually happened to this guy. Guilty. They say he was guilty. He pulled a knife out, injured one person, and killed another one. So you're telling me a guy who was actually being physically, violated and mocked and scorned, and he was found guilty of murder. The dude doing like 30 years. That's what I'm trying to say. Like, I don't know. And then we know it's white supremacy, systemic racism. It's like, like, yo, man, like this guy was actually this was not hypothetical. He would have broke his jaw. They were pushing him down the water. He could have drowned. And they were hella, you said two white boys, but how about 25 white people, a crowd of them shouting at him, calling him a pedo and all type of stuff. How about 20 white people, a crowd of 20 people, not two, 20 people. And he defended himself, and he got about 30 years in prison. So I look at stuff like that, like shit. Cause I thought, I was back and forth with him, like, damn, he gonna get off, And then like my final conclusion was he ain't getting off. And he was found guilty. But I was back and forth with him for a while, like listening to the trial. And then he was cross-examined. He did horrible in his cross-examination. And Jay, that's what it's gonna come down to, my boy. It's gonna come down to will Karmelo take the stand? And guess what, chat? He's going to have to, because it's self-defense. What person that claims self-defense don't take the stand? And then it's probably going to be 3-4 years later. His memory ain't so good, and that defense attorney just going hard on him, bro. But that's why I say I'm open to more evidence. I just said I hope he get off. Y'all become weird. Like, yo, why would I hope he go to jail? Okay. Anyway. Okay. So you don't believe it's so when he said touch me, you don't believe that could be seen as, you don't believe that's close? Yeah, I agree. It is a warning, but I don't know. But is a warning, can a warning be a threat? And also remember, we read, it's like, remember what we read, it doesn't talk about warning or threat. It said, did you do anything that caused the rumble? And like, again, I'm speaking for the defense attorney. They can say, well, Metcalf wasn't going to touch him. He was just going to intimidate him and just scoff at him and walk away. But when he said, touch me, he felt like he was being challenged. You know what I mean? You got to think about stuff like that. Like, you guys are too optimistic for something that's so controversial. If we miss this word, I guess it's a warning. Jaquan said him saying touch me was a response to what he was said or done to him. Once again, you're running with, okay, I already read that. Not looking good. He can say what he want. What the F was Austin under mind control, saying touch me and see what happens is a warning to get away from. I mean, you guys are the ones that set yourself for failure for not looking at this with an unbiased perspective. Because if Buddy get locked up, you guys are going to be traumatized. Not me, because I'm already seeing that this case is sticky. Even Chat GPT said, hey, this is going to be challenging for Carmelo Anthony. Even Chat GPT said, based upon what we have right now, it doesn't look good, basically. Okay. Golden Brown said, no, you are wrong. If say don't touch me means I'm afraid of you because of you. See, I mean, yeah, like that. I keep trying to say a lawyer can argue that way, Golden Brown. A lawyer can say, hey man, not touch me is I'm afraid, so don't touch me or I'm gonna crash out. I can see it that way too. If they broke his phone and already put hands on him, why should he leave? They tried again to now. What they did before is not going to help you on self-defense. So what they did on Monday won't help you with self-defense Sunday. Yeah, nah. So I'm gonna switch gears. Like a battered woman who has a abusive boyfriend. She can't base the abuse on last week on today. When he just walk in the house to go get a beer. She just can't blow his head off because what he did last Tuesday. All right. So now y'all got all these hypotheticals. If they broke his phone, if, um, touch me and see what happens. A warning, and this be a coach. Yeah, I could see it as a warning, but again, they're in Texas. Y'all just said Texas was KKK state, right? It's the Klan state. So FBA culture don't mean nothing to them. They're like, what the hell is that? But you know, we'll see when if more evidence comes out. Dottie, how is that baiting? If I say, Donnie, shut the F up before I smack you, and you say, touch me, did you provoke me or warn me? Brother, yeah, you guys, yeah, don't do, if you guys are debaters, y'all ain't gonna do good. When you become a great debater, you gotta anticipate both arguments. right? So the way I debate, the way I destroy tethers is that I think about their side. So I debate their side versus my side in my head. And I try to determine how strong would their argument be. And that's how I'm able to like drop arguments. Like, okay, I ain't using that because this is going to just make them seem like they got something. So like I pick my battles wisely. Okay. What else we got here? Donnie House. Okay, so free speech, but the law isn't implemented the same for some. So they start now. We're assuming that the law is going to be fair, right? That's all we can like hope for. So we're assuming if the law is fair and they're calling it straight down the line, do you guys believe Carmelo Anthony, based upon what we have right now and read this self-defense law, do you believe Carmelo Anthony got a good shot of getting acquitted or charges dropped, or do you believe you know he got to go to trial? He got to present a great argument for why he did what he did. Okay. So why would you touch me after I stated don't touch me? Yeah, my neck hurt reading this. Pause. Right, let me get down. My neck hurt reading this damn screen. Okay. So Tony, Maurice, peace, man. Twins mean my connection going wild again. If my audio bad, let me know. So Tony Maurice says twins means 2 against 1. They are not showing camera footage for a reason. They confiscated all phones. Yeah, so we gotta wait, right? So if, like I say, listen, guys, listening is fundamental. I'm saying if there's video footage, I guarantee is this not going to trial. If there is, hey Donnie, document this. If there is actual video footage, this is not going to trial. The charges will either be dropped or he gonna cop a plea, because video footage pretty much solves the case. You dig? So if there's video footage, either charges will be dropped or Carmelo Anthony will be copping a plea. Because that's one thing lawyers can't, they don't give a damn how great they are. It's one thing they can't get around is video footage. So that's the good thing about video footage. If the phones show what happened, document this, folks. Charges will be dropped or a plea will be copped. Okay? They're free thinking, heterosexual, black on this chat. Mine is thinking on both sides. I'm not here to get white supremacist passes. Yeah, I don't think any of us here to get white supremacist passes. What a rebuttal, Donnie, if you say so. Culture. Yeah, I got a phone number. Anybody can call in. Okay, not acquiesce to that. To debate. Yeah, I mean, it is nothing to debate because we're just looking at the evidence, right? Look, you got to see us. You got to see ourselves as like a jury. The jury doesn't always agree. That's why you have hung jurors. So, like, why would you think? I guess we are a monolith, right? Like, so, like, we got to stay consistent. Are we a monolith, or are we a bunch of 43 million FBAs with different personalities, different opinions on different things? Okay. Peace. So I probably have more training than anyone on my unbiased iron and my Ronish. the fact that he hit him once and ran proves he was scared. He didn't butcher the devil and he didn't stand it. Yeah, but that's a solid point. You dig? if that's true, that's a solid point. He didn't, if he only swung one time and he didn't like try to go, some crash out, that will definitely add to the self-defense claim. Okay. But it doesn't mean that's, but like I said, man, it's real simple. If there's footage there, if they actually got footage, you're going to see charges drop or you're going to see a plea copped. I guarantee that. Okay, so let's keep reading. P says Judge Joe Brown believes this was not legal. Hey, oh, really? Now look. So P says Judge Joe Brown believes this was not legal self-defense. Hey, P, I wouldn't listen to Judge Joe Brown about anything, including Dr. Seuss. Okay, he's been a wacko ever since he lost his job, man. Ever since he got canceled, he's been a wacko. I wouldn't listen to him for anything other than some Dr. Seuss riddles. So to me, his opinion on this means absolutely nothing. He's been mentally like something up with this guy. But like to me, he lost all of his credibility. For the crazy stuff he's been saying and doing, I'm good with him. Yeah, I wouldn't take his opinion. And he might be right, but he was too whacked out for me to take a risk and listen to what he got to say. That's just me personally. You guys, you're grown, you're smart, you can do what you want to do. P says he may be, but that's also a brilliant legal mind. Twins can cause bodily harm. He was attacked, and he was attacked. Hey, Tony, you got a wrench. If he was attacked, Tony, post that link. You know what's crazy? You guys are not posting links. Like you're making crazy claims, but I can't read them. Okay, I showed my screen. You dig? I didn't just read it. I shared it. We read it together. So if y'all got some information, please, because ChatGPT ain't talk about a video. ChatGPT ain't talk about a broken jaw. I specifically asked about Karmelo Anthony case. It didn't talk about videos or broken jaws, none of that stuff. It dealt with the facts that we have today. Okay. Donnie asked Tony, how are you the only one with evidence? Muck asked P, or he told him, but he's a Mason and Black Masons are beholden to the YT power structure. I don't know about that, Muck. No one's emotional, brother. We have a different view. Yeah, it's all good. But again, like, look, I want y'all to listen to me. I got to say this 1,000 times. My views are subjected to change based on more evidence that's revealed. My views are subjected to change. I'm not set on anything. As a matter of fact, I didn't even make a judgment. That's another thing. I said it didn't look good. That's not making a judgment. I'm saying when I heard about this and I seen the channels making videos about this, it seemed like the self-defense case was like a slam dunk, like Jay said. But when I read it, I'm like, and I know what I know about self-defense. I'm like, I don't know, man. I don't know. You guys can't give me, I give you guys about 5 self-defense cases, okay? And 2 were popular. They were all over the TVs and internet. That's the Kyle Rudolph, and that was the river knife sling. Okay, so I gave y'all 2, and the other 3 was on First 48. You guys have gave me no reference of a self-defense case that you guys are aware of. That's public. That's public that we could look up or watch. I gave y'all 5. All right. So anyway, Judge O'Brown is generally an independent thinker, and he generally predicts the way cases are tried in court. Yeah. So Pete, you might be 100% right. Like I said, the fact that he was wacky on some other stuff, I just wouldn't use him as my source. I'm going on what both boys stated. All right, so Jaquan, why I can't read it? Why is everybody so secretive with this information? You guys are saying stuff. If it's true, you should be easily able to prove it. Yeah, y'all here debating like Kwame. If you said it, the burden of proof is on you. If you said it, you gotta get it. Yeah, I like if you said it, you gotta get it. Okay. Oh my God, my neck's killing me reading this shit. Yeah, I never read the comments this long before. My neck is killing. You know what? Let me read it from my iPad. Yeah, because that is killing me. God damn. You read from my iPad. Oh my God. Right. Let me sit down and read this. All right. So let me read your comments you did. And like I said, y'all want the phone number, let me know. Rains, peace. Tiny Rains. I can't pronounce your last name. I apologize. But let me give you a wrench. So if you got a wrench and you got some information, please post a link in the chat. I promise you, I'll click the link and I will read it. Okay, because Jaquan, he misjudged me. He thought I knew about this case. I don't, bro. My first time looking into this case was tonight, before I went live. I made the thumbnail. That's my thumbnail. I made that thumbnail. That thumbnail dope, right? I made the thumbnail with the crowd behind it. That's me. I made all that. So, bro, I didn't have much time to research because I did it live. I did 2 lives today, right? The second one, you dig? What I didn't do. I went to the store. My son rode his bike for a little while. I came back in the house. I had no time to look into this story. So I said, you know what? I did a couple researchers. I looked up on because, oh, by the way, I didn't tell you guys. So tomorrow at about 7 p.m. Eastern time, I'm gonna put the link in my post again. So subscribe to the channel, please, and you'll see the link. So I'm going to be going over Marcus Garvey and Pan Africanism on Chief X channel, okay, with Ngozi. So it's going to be me, Chief X, Ngozi, and we're going to be discussing Pan Africanism, why it's useless, and Marcus Garvey, and why he was a complete nut, okay, with an unrealistic dream. Just a tether, right? So we're going to go in tomorrow. So when I came back in the house, Jay, I brushed up on that because I want to be sharp. And then I looked up, I went into the bell curve, right? And so actually I was catching up on one of Tariq Nasheed videos. And Tariq Nasheed video is why I looked up this. And also the bell curve, because he was talking to a white supremacist cosplaying as somebody FBA, and the white supremacist brought up no. I think he had a white supremacist, and he had like a piece of trash, like Somalian, and Somalian was acting like our IQ was like lower than. So I went and found out, what ChatGPT thought about the bell curve. Was it pseudo, whatever, and I got that information. So Jaquan, I researched some heavy stuff when I got back in the house, and then lastly, I looked into this case. And that's why it took so long to go live, my boy. I was reading up on all those things. So now, what I know about this case is not from a news article. So I didn't read anybody's statements. I went straight to Chat GPT. I went the smart way. I went to the cheat code. Okay, and Chat GPT pretty much I asked them specifically. I said, give me the generic definition of self-defense. Give me Texas state law self-defense, and then I said, give me your opinion on the Carmelo Anthony self-defense case. That's all I said. I don't know about statements. So if you know about statements, you got a wrench and you didn't put one link in the chat yet. Let me read the statement. Somebody got footage. Let me see the video. More information I got, I can, help represent this correctly. But most importantly, we got to be honest though, because don't forget, keep in mind, we supposed to have integrity, right? We know tethers and white supremacists, they are dishonest, and they will lie with no problem. We supposed to represent Black excellence for real. People say that, but they don't represent it. That's what we do. So we're not going to lie. We're going to look at the evidence and say, hey, man, it's unfortunate. Like, let's say if the evidence comes out in the future and it makes him look guilty. Like, we got to just hold that. Say, damn, bro. Shit, man. Hold your head up, man. You dig? And just hold that. But if the evidence make him look good, we got to just own that too. Like, okay, all right. He should be straight. But either way, we got to own it either way. Because if there's videos tape, it's going to acquit or convict for sure. There ain't gonna be any trial if there's some video evidence. There ain't gonna be no trial. It's gonna be acquit or convict. I can guarantee that. So let me give Tiny Reigns a wrench. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And let me catch up on these Agar piece. Let me catch up on the chat. Where was I? Because my neck was killing me. I guess I can't go back but so far. That's crazy. On the iPad, I can't go back but so far. On the computer, I can go back to the first comment, I think, or damn near. All right. So let's read from here. I'm laying down now. Hope you don't fall asleep. All right, so. Okay. I was hearing an echo. So, Ron, did you forget about the laws of self-preservation? Nah, I listen, I got no problem with it. Somebody said it best. Somebody said, I'd rather be judged by 12 than carried by 6. I agree with that. Jay Quan said there's an interview with the brother giving his account of the story. He said him and his brother approached Karmelo and says his brother put hands on him. Karmelo says he hit him. Jay Quan is okay. So somebody got a link in the chat. Finally, all right. That'll start now. Muck Muck says, "Where is the YTs right now when they unveil Trayvon, Mike Brown, Tamir Rice, Jordan Neely? No, they were wrong in every instance, but got off anyway. Name one instance when the devil was in the right. Yeah, some crazy cases, bro. He interviewed with detectives. Jay, American law equals unjust. Just 99.9. Yeah, sometimes it's just I'm white and I say so. Sometimes it's just like that, unfortunately. That's why I try not. That's why I try not to get involved with white crime, like white issues, controversial issues with white people. If there's a Karen, I'm dodging her. If there's a Brad, I'm dodging him, man, because I know what you guys are saying is right. So if I know it's right, I ain't trying to stab him up. I'm out. The hell with stand your ground with this white guy. I'm out. You see what I'm saying, family? Because I know I'm going to be put in the same situation that everybody you named was in. We're in. So for me, Donnie, because white people are protected by systemic racism, unfortunately, we gotta let them just try to harm us first. Where it's like clear intention, it's clear effort. But the old touch me and I stab you, again, guys, if we know systemic racism does not give us justice, then we gotta behave like that. We gotta behave like that. We're not behaving like that because we believe justice is fair. And that's why I got the woman, the blind justice. If you believe justice is fair, then stand your ground. But if you believe justice is unfair, then guess what? You might gotta retreat. Because they look at stand your ground for us, murder. Murder one. They look at stand your ground for white people, self-defense. So if that's known, then we're probably better off just retreating. Live another day, go home to your family. Don't take an L over I'm white and I say so. Don't take an unnecessary L over the judicial system saying I'm white and I say so. I refuse. I will try to avoid all I can to going to jail unjustly over defending myself in a violent way over white supremacists. Like a white supremacist got to really give me no way out. But on some get out my seat, while you're here trying to taunt me, you got it. Here's your seat. You got it. Because I know what system I'm in. You got it. It's a chair. You got it. Because that could turn into this right here, a Karmelo case. Now I'm locked up, trying to, get a fair trial. Meanwhile, who's taking care of home? Who's influencing the young one? Like, what I mean? Some fights just not there to be fought. Right, let me turn this down, brightness down, this damn screen. Man, I can't even read anything. Screen bright as hell. All right, let's get to these comments. Okay. So, interview. I read that. Okay, somebody put a link. Let me click start now link. Let me see. Why I got a commercial? All right, no, I can't play that because it's giving me. I'll play it later because it's giving me. All right, let me chime in. Got some more information. So anyway, if you guys got some evidence, you guys got to put it in the chat. You dig? If you got some exclusive information, we need to see it. All right, give me a second. Let me pull up the shebang bang bang. Yeah, because let me caution y'all. There's a lot of fake news out there, and if y'all not good at research, if y'all some headline readers, you're gonna look crazy out here in these YouTube streets. You dig? In these YouTube streets, you're gonna look crazy. there's a lot of fake news. Okay, there's a lot of fake news, which is heightening the racial tensions, making everybody look goofy. So y'all need to vet your sources. That's why I keep saying, send me a link. You're not gonna have me looking goofy out here. Send me a link, all right? So I can look at your link and I can determine real quickly that's a bad source or not, right? That's why I keep saying, send me a link. You ain't gonna have me out here looking crazy for y'all, because you have to know what you're doing as far as research to understand what's an uncredible BS link and what's a credible source. I know to a large degree, I know how to swim through that. And good job, putting guards. Yeah, I know how to swim through those links and choose a good one. So y'all can't be emotionally looking for links that you believe is, because what they do is really, this what they're doing. Whatever link that makes, whatever fake news link that make Carmelo Anthony looks like he's just a murderer, looking, premeditated murderer. Those are the links that white supremacists are looking for, because they're trying to find that nail in the coffin. Because they're really chasing it. They're looking with their emotions. They are emotionally tied into this. And also on the flip side, for those who want to find that smoking gun that Carmelo Anthony is justified, like without any shadow of a doubt, without any necessary trial, there's fake links for that. And you guys is looking for what you want. They say curiosity killed the cat. You guys are looking for what you want, and the internet got that fake link waiting on you to call on somebody's show and represent that fake link and look a fool. Okay? So try to do sound research the best of your ability. So let me go ahead and do this. I have an advantage over most people, or I have an advantage over most people. Why do I say that? Because I got this strange ability to research without emotions. Peace, FBA. Peace, Guillory. I have a ability to be able to research blindly. Okay. So now, what I can't do is behave like tethers, because tethers will go away from the facts and just start saying random emotional stuff. Well, what about this? What about that? It's like, dude, listen, I'm only interested in the facts, and I'm gonna give y'all some facts of the case. So I actually went back and watched Bruce Rivers' video on this case. I was trying to see if attorney Akeisha Shabazz did anything on this, and she didn't, right? Not yet. So I was going to see what she assessed, because these are real attorneys. These are real defense attorneys. I'm not. I'm a YouTuber. Okay, I just is good at some petty journalism. Okay, but nothing on the level on real journalists that went to school. Nowhere near on that type of level. Okay. All right. Okay, so let me bring you over here. Okay. Yeah, so so again, there's a phone number. Everybody is, don't forget, everybody is a genius in the chat. Don't forget that. That's how tethers and white supremacists feel emboldened to call in, because everybody's a genius in the chat. But it's something about dialing that last number when it says you are on the Zoom, you are live with Unbiased Ron. There's something about that where all the info and intel you thought you had just goes out the window. You are live with Unbiased Ron. I'm like, peace calling. All of a sudden, y'all catch amnesia. Okay. So let's go over some things. So let's state the obvious before we get into the facts of the case. The obvious is that systemic racism is real. Justice isn't blind. Justice be peeking through that little American bandana to see if one person is black or white before they make a ruling. Okay, so that's a fact. So you are behind enemy lines. Everything Millie Fuller said, everything Minister Louis Farrakhan said, everything shit Timothy Wise said is all real. Everything Tariq said, everything everybody ever said about racism is real. Going back to Malcolm X and even further, okay, it's real. All the way to Frederick Douglass, it's real. Racism is real. It's always is, and it's not just real. It's systematic, right? It's designed to tip the scale in favor to everybody, but it's a pecking order. So the favor is really white people, right? And then everybody in between. And lastly, the people who are not the beneficiaries of white supremacy, systemic racism, are people who will be considered FBA or ADOS today. Okay, so that is out there. So we got that. Now, looking into the facts of the matter. Matter of fact, before the facts of the matter, what I just said is not being taught in FBA homes. All right. So in FBA homes, if you're taught that, you're not going to flirt with the line. So that means, so what am I saying, chat? If we actually were open and honest with our kids and friends and relatives, our loved ones, about systemic racism and white supremacy, then we know to really use these defense laws when it's most needed. Now, look at the interesting thing. If everything what I said about systemic racism is true, okay, about blind justice peeking through the bandana, if all of that is true, then we need to tiptoe, you dig, through the tulips, as Dr. Khalid Muhammad would say. Tiptoe through the tulips. Okay, so now, that means that if somebody come to us and say, hey, get out my seat, you dig, now, and he just got his fist, then you got to meet fist with fist. If you believe systemic racism is real, you have to know that most likely, if you pull out a bat, knife, or something other than your fist with a white person in America in the system of racism, right? If you pull out a weapon outside of your fist and all they got is their fist, you have to know that the Liberty Lady is going to peek through the bandana. You might even lose in a fist-to-fist case where you just won. Like, he ain't dead, you just won. You might still get locked up as the aggressor. That's with your fist. So you have to know, if you truly believe this country is still dealing with supreme cases of systemic racism, then we got to be taught that at home. So bringing a knife to a fist fight, you have to automatically know this might be an L, right? So we can't talk two sides of our mouth. If you bring a knife to a fist fight, via versus a white person in America, and then like a state like that, you got to know that this is almost an automatic L. If you bring a gun to a knife fight, it's probably going to be an automatic L. You dig? You have to know that. You got to believe that. And when you do know that and believe that, then you'll handle that situation differently. Maybe you just fight fist with fist, or if they're if their size is too massive, then you gotta, let them just throw the first punch at that point. The first punch they gotta throw. What are we doing? What are we doing? Okay, yeah. So you gotta almost, not almost, you pretty much gotta let them throw the first punch. Not just threatening or shoving will be enough for a stabbing, right? I'm just saying, if we believe systemic racism is real and blind justice peeks through the bandana, then a knife to a fist fight is probably a life sentence. Okay, so now let's go over the facts. So now, what I said, do you agree or disagree? Let's start with that. Let's start with that. What I just said, does that make any sense, or you guys think I'm tripping? Before I go over these facts. So I'm beyond like the legal limits of the legal length of a knife. I'm just saying, if we believe systemic racism is alive and well in this country, and you know, blind justice isn't blind when it comes to us, then that doesn't matter what size that knife is, right? Bringing that knife to a fist fight probably ain't gonna work in your favor. So I'm saying, like, you're better off just fist fighting, because self defense is going to be tight. It's going to be hard. Okay, so Corey Jones says I'm tripping. Corey, that's your projection, my boy. That's your projection. You don't know anything about me. You are the biased one here. You're seeing this one sided. I'm looking at this from all four angles, all around the circle. Okay, that's your projection because you have a preconceived bias how you look at life, and you're trying to enforce that on thinkers like myself. It's not going to work. And again, that's why I say that's why I'm him, and that's why you guys are who you are. All right. So going further, Sherry Baby says not in school. Okay. Well, Sherry Baby. I don't know the laws of this length of the knife. What I'm saying is, if we believe systemic racism is real, then we have to know that if we bring a knife to a fist fight, if we bring a gun to a knife fight, it's probably going to be an L for us. All right. So we have to prepare. We really believe what Neely Fuller Jr. says, and everybody else, we really believe that the scale is tipped, then we have to adjust accordingly. We got to adjust for that misbalance. What's the term that we used to say in the pharmaceutical? Damn, it'll come to mind what we did with the scales. It always lose my mind when I want to say it. Anyway, but we had to adjust the scales before any work was measured. Somebody give me the proper term. All right. And you got to do that before you start weighing stuff. So if the scales are balanced for us, then that means we got to adjust to the balance. We can't go into these fights as though the scale is evenly balanced. We have to go into these fights considering the scale is uneven and not in our favor. So in that case, that means if it's not in our favor, then if we bring a gun to a knife fight, a knife to a fist fight, it's probably going to be a life sentence or damn near. We have to think strategic like that. So at the very least, we got to bring a knife to a knife fight, gun to a gun fight, and fist to a fist fight. Because if we believe, I ain't gonna keep saying it. You got it. If y'all missed that, y'all just got some. You need counseling. All right. So so anyway, now check this out. Now, not balance. It's a better term because you have to balance the scales. Like, you have to make sure the scales are balanced. You dig? Like, that they're gonna read off the right number when you weigh something. Oh my gosh, on the tip of my goddamn tongue. Oh, and last live this happened, but I finally got it eventually. So hopefully I'll get it. But what happens is, let me tell you the process. What we'll do is we'll wear like white gloves, and we'll take out small weights and we will put it on the scale and make sure the scale is at zero, and we'll make sure that the scale reflects the weight of the weights that we put on there. So sometimes the weight can be 2.5 ounces, the scale needs to read that. If it says 5 ounces, the scale needs to read that. And if we put 1 pound on there, the scale needs to read that. And then we know our scale is, what's the word? We did, for the lack of terms, ready to go. But there's a term for that. Okay, a fancy term that I need to know. It's going to kill me if I don't get it. Okay, so anyway, you're not projecting. Well, you're definitely acting like we got to believe like you. Then, okay, you're not respecting that we're not a monolith. You think you have an opinion. If we don't agree with you, then we're all wrong. Okay, that's a monolith type of thought. That's not how I view my family. I view you guys. You guys got unique opinions, and I need to produce. If I want your opinion to be like mine, then it's my job to produce a compelling argument. You know what lawyers got to do to the jury. Okay, that's your job. So if people are not agreeing with you, then you have to provide a compelling argument to get folks to be swayed your way. But just saying I'm FBA and I say so, that's not it. I'm right because I'm FBA. That's not it. That's not how this works. All right. So no, IBM. I'm gonna IBM. I gotta get rid of you, my boy. Okay. I gotta get rid of you. I can't play this bipolar game with you. Okay. You. Okay. So IBM, I gotta block you, my boy. Sorry, and I will not unblock you. Okay, because IBM, he comes over and cosplay like he's FBA. Okay, and he's on panels with me years earlier in 2021. He's calling Stupid like all these Jamaicans coconuts and all type of names before we even started doing it, and he was doing it indiscriminately, and nobody said nothing to him. Nobody said he's a hater, he's tripping, he's divisive. Okay, and he did it without provocation, right? Nobody provoked him. So now you have real islanders, you have real Africans who are provoking us to call them a tether or something, maybe even humorous. Okay, he's supposed to be FBA. So now he's on these podcasts with me, right? And the first chance he got to go on another podcast, this guy had the nerve to say, attacking our Caribbean cousins and African cousins, just for no reason. He's this dude just showed his ass. I mean, uncalled for, no reason. He just went crazy on me. So I'm like, oh, really? That's how you felt the whole time? So why do you come over and hop on a podcast and talk to me and try to be FBA like me, and we, discuss these white supremacist talking points and tether talking points? So IBM, I took your wrench and I actually blocked you. So go make a new name. Yeah, but I don't play those games. So I don't mind you guys having a difference of opinion on me, but what you're not gonna do is act like we are one, and then on a whole nother podcast, you just dog me out. Like these people don't even know my background, nothing about me. You're just dogging me out. And now I gotta clean that mess up. Like, oh, what the hell? I'm like shocked. So no, boy, we don't want your opinion. We want nothing from you. Go back to that podcast and you go attend their lives. All right. Then he want to act like he want to debate me. Like, dude, like you lost every debate I ever had with you. All of them are recording this channel. Like, so now you just showing out. All right. So Corey said, "What would I would have done?" It's tough to say because we're not in those predicaments. It's tough to say, but what I wouldn't have done, Okay, so this might come up. The character, right? People testifying your character. So you gotta listen to this, Corey. Could you ask some questions? But I think the rhetorical. I think you don't care about whatever answer I give. So I'm gonna answer to the chat. I'm gonna answer through you to the chat. Even though Karmelo Anthony, they're saying he's a great guy, good grades. Okay, what might be asked is this. For people that know him, they might ask, is he known to carry that knife you guys are saying is legal? Okay, so if his friends and peers say, no, he's not known to carry a knife, then guess what, family? That's going to look like it's premeditated. Like he broke the knife in case of a confrontation and a confrontation is most likely going to happen if he's sitting at the wrong tent. You see how they could build this up? They can ask, hey, is he known to carry a knife on him? If that's true, then that's not going to work against him as far as premeditation. But if his own friends and peers testify that he's not known to carry weapons, and this was a one-off, even if his dad says he's not known to carry weapons, leave the house with weapons, then that could work against him. And this is all hypothetical. I'm just giving you this. You said, what would I do? I'm trying to answer the question. If I'm not known to carry weapons, I'm not going to bring a weapon. Okay. That's just it. Now I got the right to sit where I want to sit. It's legal for me to sit in that tent. There's nothing illegal about that. There's no prohibitions. If I want to sit in that tent, I'm going to sit there. And he ain't going to tell me to get up. You dig? And if he does, he will have to do more than, he has to be more physical. Like he has to really threaten bodily harm. But I won't go off assuming that he's going to do bodily harm. That's not going to work for self-defense. So that's what you got to do for me. Like you got to actually, attempt to cause bodily harm, like really get at me. Now, if I got fists, so this is a tricky question because if I just got my fist, I don't need you to do too much. I'm swinging first. You dig? Because it's just a fist fight. Most that can happen is a suspension, right? So we both got our fists. Yeah, I don't need you to do much. You threaten me, that's enough. And, that's enough for me to start wailing on you. But if I have a knife, a deadly weapon in my bag, at that point, I'm going to need you to do more. So when you guys talk about Zimmerman, well, guess what Zimmerman's defense was? He claimed that Trayvon Martin was banging his head on the ground. So that was his reasonable, in his defense, where he was positioning. That was his reasonable action for fatal force, right? So that's what happened with that. So people try to show that, hey, man, I had no choice because my life was at danger, like in the moment. So now if I got a knife on me, if I got a gun on me, I'm going to need you to present a knife or a gun, and I'm coming at you. I know some of these defense laws, self-defense laws, right? But if you don't show a knife or a gun, then I need you to do something to me, but I can't provoke it. I can't lure you in. I can't bait you to do it. Like it has to be something that you just, again, you got to be the clear aggressor. So if he's a bully and a clear aggressor, then I could just sit back with my knife and I could even clutch it. Okay, but then when he start welling on me, you dig, and he has the height advantage, the weight advantage. At that point, this self-defense case is it looks different. It's only looking funny outside of white supremacy tactics. Is looking funny mainly because he wasn't physically in bodily, harm. Like his body wasn't really damaged at all. So that's what got people looking at this so controversial. Okay. So again, if I got a weapon on me that can cause death, fatal harm, I'm gonna need you to show you got the same thing, and that's enough for me to go at you. Or because he was the aggressor, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, there's no dispute. He was the aggressor. So all he gotta have is a weapon on him. And that's enough. But I'm telling you, I've seen self-defense cases where all you got to do is punch on me and I can kill you. See, but I'm not reading anything and you guys are not saying that he was getting punched on. But if he was getting punched on, I'm telling you, this case would be seen differently. I've seen cases where a guy was getting punched on, he pulled out a gun and killed him, executed him right there and got off. Never was charged. Was arrested, whatever, got his story, was never charged because there was also, I got to add this part, there was video footage that showed the guy was aggressive and started punching on him. And he was clearly bigger, like y'all saying with this case. So he was clearly bigger. He started welling on him and he pulled the gun out and killed him. Because, size-wise, I think we can conclude he probably was going to win a one-on-one fight. But he pulled a gun out and shot him dead and got off. So I would have liked for you guys to have told me or read that this guy, Austin Metcalf, was punching on Carmelo Anthony, and then Carmelo Anthony grabbed the knife and, defend himself. Now, what works for Carmelo Anthony is that he only swung one time. He didn't try to do it twice, 3 times, 4 times, and he fled. Fled is a sign of fear. Okay, so ain't like he stood there over him talking trash. He swung at him, and he didn't know the extent of the injury. He asked officers later. So those things work in his favor, right? So it shows that he did not, he didn't really come there to initiate the fight. He came there with a weapon, so which some people saying you can bring a gun. I don't know the rules, but so like the school rules don't matter. So let me tell you right now, chat. School rules, your job policy, that don't matter. You work at Verizon and they say don't bring a gun, that doesn't matter. The school rules don't trump your constitutional rights. Okay, now they could suspend you and say, or they could expel you, say don't come back, but you won't get in trouble by the law if you're using, if you're lawfully correct, you won't get in trouble. Now the school can penalize you, but the law can't. So if the law says you can carry a certain knife, certain length, and you can carry a gun wherever you go in the state of Texas, then that means he can do that. He's protected by the law. The school doesn't matter. Their policy does not matter. The city ordinance does not matter. The law trumps everything. And the constitutional law trumps state law as far as the right to carry. But the state regulates self-defense, not the Constitution. So you got to go by state law when it comes to that. Yeah, but he can carry, if the state says the knife can be a certain length and that's legal to carry around, and he had that knife at that length, then he has the right to carry that knife wherever he goes, to church, to the bathroom. That's his legal, lawful right. And guess what? He could bring a gun too. If he's at the age, they got age restrictions, but if he's at the age to carry a gun, then he can carry that gun everywhere he goes. Like the law does not prohibit him from carrying that gun. That's a Second Amendment right. So let me get that out the way. All right. So looking at all of that, I would have liked to learn that Austin was punching on him, because his self-defense case would be sweet. It'd be sweeter. I don't know too many self-defense cases, guys. Put me on something. I don't know too many self-defense cases where the guy had no weapon, or the person had no weapon, and they were just running their mouth and maybe just touched you, and you were able to kill them and get off on self-defense. I don't know too many cases. I'm sure there's probably one for a white person, maybe somewhere, but for a black person, I don't think there's one. I don't know. That's gonna be tricky. So you got to consider that too. That's what I'm trying to say. Like, we got to be educated as much as possible. And people like Corey is mad at education. Like, he's mad at me for giving you guys game on how to really deal with this, like how to be politically correct and not emotionally correct. Because too many of us react off emotions, and we're doing football numbers in prison. I'm trying to get you guys to look at the bigger picture. Always try to have a sound mind in these hostile environments, right? So how will I handle it? If I know I got a deadly weapon on me, I'm gonna need this guy to punch on me, and I'm not gonna provoke him, because then self-defense won't favor you. Okay, so that's how I would handle it, Corey. How would you handle it? All right. So now let's go into the bag of evidence. So here are the facts. The witnesses say, and I think he even said it, that he pulled a knife from his backpack. That's evidence. The Metcalf twin brother admits that Karmelo stabbed Austin. Karmelo admits he stabbed Austin. So these are facts. You can claim self-defense, but a judge got to grant it. So the judge is going to look at the statements and the facts I just read over, and the judge has to grant that this is a self-defense matter. If he does not, then of course he's going to be doing some football years, right? Okay. Now, if the judge do see it as a stand your ground defense case, self-defense case, then it's the state's job to prove. So that means that Karmelo lawyer ain't really got to do much. Just, not much there. Okay. It becomes the state's burden to prove that this was not self-defense. So they're going to try to get all the witnesses, all the statements. Karmelo ain't say much, which was wise. And the first thing he said to the officer that this was self-defense, that was wise. So, he seemed like he got some education on him. Because the first thing he told the officer, hey, man, listen, this is not alleged. I did it, but this was self-defense. I feared for my life. So that was great. That was great on his behalf to do that, right? That's what needed. And I'm saying that's what needs to be taught. And it's not being taught. You guys are not teaching your kids nothing about self-defense. You know why? Because you don't know anything. You're just emotional like some people in the chats. How about get educated? How about trying that for once? All right. Here are some more facts. Okay. Let me give you the problem. All right. And this is the problem. I don't know if Karmelo admitted to this. Now, in Karmelo's case, because it's a white guy, yeah, you might not want to talk. You might not want to talk to a detective. Just say, hey, it's self-defense, and you might not want to do no interrogation, zero, because that just works against you, and especially because it's a white guy who died. No matter what he says in that room, he's going to be depicted as the aggressor, the murderer. So in his case, it wouldn't make any sense to go in there and speak to detectives, and I don't believe he did. That's great. So the state can't use anything he said in that interrogation room to contradict what his defense attorney would use later. So I don't think he spoke to detectives. So that's great. Now, let me tell you the problem. The problem is that he said, touch me and see what happens. Okay, that is going to be the problem. That is going to be what they argue about. Okay, they're going to look at that as he escalated. The state is going to use that statement to the jury and the public that is not a statement of de-escalating. They're going to say that is a statement of escalating. So even though Austin Metcalf was the aggressor, even though he closed the space, right? He's dead wrong. Well, no pun intended. But let me change my words. Even though, okay, he closed the space and now he's absolutely wrong, right? He's the aggressor. The state is going to try to make the argument that they're saying that witnesses are saying that Karmelo Anthony grabbed his knife, in the bag. I don't know if he revealed it, but he said, touch me and see what happens. Okay. So that statement, they're going to look at that. I mean, what can I say, man? I'm just telling you what Bruce Rivers said, defense attorney, and what the state is probably going to look at. They're going to look at that as some form of taunting. Okay. Some form of taunting. Okay. So that's what's going to be argued for the states. And they got to make a jury believe that. They got to make a jury believe that Karmelo Anthony assisted in the brawl or the violence. Right. So I can only imagine Karmelo could have chose better words or said absolutely nothing. You just leave me. Listen, man, listen. We got to really play this game of chess with these white supremacists. right? Defending ourselves, we wanted to make it an absolute self-defense case. We don't want anything to be interpretational. They could twist our words to a jury. Look, leave me alone. Or I have a knife and I'll defend myself. Whatever. You don't have to say that because you don't have to disclose. According to self-defense laws, you don't have to tell the aggressor you have a weapon that can kill them. You don't have to do that because in most cases that'll make them go get theirs, or make them, if they had one, that'll make them use theirs first. So yeah, that wouldn't be wise. But leave me alone. Stop bothering me. Like, these are clear defense statements. Nobody can argue that. These are clear defense. Leave me alone. Stop bothering me. You're bullying me. Like, we have to use those, man. We have to use those such words. Leave me alone. You're bullying me. Go away. I wish not to, fight with you. I'm telling you, had those words been expressed, I'm not saying he'll still be, free. I'm just saying that works a lot in his favor. That gives the state less interpretation on how to twist his words. But touch me and see what happens. Who knows? Like, how do you see that? How do you see those words? Now, of course, we will say, hey, man, still self-defense. He just warned them. Of course, white supremacists will say something else. So it becomes interpretational. So I don't want that gray area. So if I'm defending myself with violence, I don't want a gray area. I'm gonna play the whole Becky game. Like, hey, you're hurting me. You dig? I'm not giving you nothing. Okay, so that was it. Yeah, so that could be seen as taunting, and if it's seen as taunting, then his self-defense case is thrown away. So the judge is going to look at that right away, right? So if the judge sees those words as taunting, he might not have a self-defense case. Okay. Yeah, so let me read some sensible. The first thing majority limit says, the first thing look at is how did he pull the knife out of the backpack? Did he use his left hand or his right hand? How much space was between Metcalf and Anthony before Anthony struck him with the knife? Amos Khan said somebody just said on TikTok, the DA said that bullies have to be dealt with. And I'm not, yeah, but like, look, y'all gotta watch. Yeah, listen. I'm telling you right now, from a well thorough researcher, do not use TikTok. Do not use TikTok. Do not use TikTok as a frame of reference. Don't do that. I cook so many people using TikTok. Don't use TikTok. Use credible sources. Use credible, links that shows the full context of what's being said by these folks. Okay, but now I could believe that, but I'm just saying TikTok won't be. TikTok is probably the worst source you can use. Instagram probably number 2, but like those quick 60-second social media platforms, the shorts, I wouldn't. No, don't do that. Be more responsible. You use a better source, but that even that's what I would say. Don't use TikTok and Instagram and Twitter as references. John says maybe Metcalf fell on a knife and stabbed himself. Yeah, So that is a possibility as well, right? He probably lunged at him, tripped, and fell towards him. So that's why, like, they're going to need everybody's statement at some point. The witnesses, they're going to need, obviously, the deceased can't speak, but they're going to need, if Karmelo wants to be cross-examined, right, he will have to speak for himself, right, which is tough. Like, nobody can prepare anybody for a cross-examination because those lawyers are not nice. You seen what they did with what's the dude name from Young Thugger's case? Woody. They're not nice, all right? They're yeah. So the lawyers that's crossing, whether it's a defense attorney or the DA, like they are not nice, and they are good at what they do, and they're trying to trip you up. That's why your lawyer got to be good at catching them. Hey, officer, he's leading. You know, you got to be because sometimes the judge will intervene, but rarely. Rarely does a judge. The judge will go on the state side out of the times. So yeah, so your lawyer better be good to catch those tactics, like Brian Still did in the Young Thug case when they was trying to lead Willie and hey, Your Honor, yeah, Your Honor, yeah, he was cooking them. He did. He was cooking them. So this is a tight one, man. And to avoid tight situations, just like I say, the best advice, you can never prevent unfortunate self-defense actions, right? You gotta protect yourself at all times. So, I hope none of you guys ever experienced using self-defense to ward off a coward. But if you do, please, 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 please make sure you're allowed. Leave me alone. You're bothering me. I'm in fear of my life. Whatever you got to do, especially if that person's non-black and even worse, white. You want to become a black Karen. You're hurting me. You want to do all that stuff. So witnesses come through, they're going to tell exactly what they heard. All right. And with that, I like there's nothing else for me to say, right? It just let's wait for more to be revealed. And we will revisit this. Or maybe with the twins attacked him with the grabbing of his hand, his other brother could have stabbed him. Well, let's see what his defense is. But brother, we gotta first hope that it is acknowledged as a self-defense trial, because they could not see it as that, and now he's just saying not guilty. Like, look, that's a big difference from a self-defense trial to a not guilty trial, right? Because he already admitted that, hey, I stabbed him. Like that, no, it wasn't alleged. I stabbed him. So at that point, if it's not a self-defense trial, now it's a not guilty of first degree, not guilty of second degree, not guilty of man. You know what I mean? It'd be one of those. I'm guilty of something, but not nothing heinous that'll land me double-digit years in prison. So we got to first hope that the judge sees it as a self-defense case, and then we can go from there. Or you could take Corey Jones' advice. You can take Corey Jones' advice. A guy who he got a wrench, and he knows so much, he ain't produced one link. All right, so let me share my screen. Let me show Corey how to do this. Let me tease Corey before I log off. Okay, so self-defense application to the Karmelo Anthony case. In April 2025, 17-year-old Karmelo Anthony was charged with the fatal stabbing of fellow student Austin Metcalf during a high school track meet in Frisco, Texas. Key facts. The altercation began when Metcalf asked Anthony to move from an area designated for Metcalf's team. Witnesses reported that Anthony warned Metcalf not to touch him. Okay. When Metcalf made physical contact, Anthony allegedly pulled a knife from his backpack and stabbed him. Anthony admitted to the stabbing and questioned whether it could be considered self-defense. Okay, now here's the analysis under Texas law: immediacy and proportionality. While Anthony may have perceived a threat, the use of deadly force, stabbing, in response to being touched or physically moved may be deemed disproportionate. What does that mean? Unnecessary. Okay, so what you're reading is that just because, so I'm gonna give it to you in layman terms, right? Chat terms. In other words, just because somebody say, "Hey, get up or I'll move you," and they go to move you out the seat, what they're saying, the punishment of a death blow isn't doesn't meet that type of action, that course of action. So it's saying that if somebody say, "Hey, get up, buddy, you don't belong over here," and they go to you say, "Don't touch me," and they go to physically remove you, so they're not punching, they're not kicking, they're not headlocking you. They just go to remove you out of a seat. What you're reading is that that might be seen unnecessary and an extreme action. Okay, that's what we just read. It says, especially if there was no indication of an imminent threat of death or serious bodily injury. So listen, the other part. It says, especially, that means highlight this. If there was no indication of an imminent threat of death. So I'll give an example. Now, had witnesses stated, Austin said, "Man, you better get up before I kill you." Oh yeah, yeah, it's on go now. Or get up before I break your neck. You know, something like that could be seen as an imminent threat, right? I'm just giving y'all what it is, man. So those are things that's imminent threats. Like that's dangerous, violent bodily injury, bodily damage, or death. Okay, but if a person just say, "Hey, man, get up out this seat," and I'll lift you up. You better not touch me. Well, whatever. I'm gonna lift you out the seat, and he's not like showing that he's trying to hurt you badly, right? Disable you, knock you unconscious. You know, I'm just reading the chat GPT. It's saying that you might not have a self-defense claim. Duty to retreat. Texas law does not require individuals to retreat if they have a legal right to be present. However, the justification for using deadly force still depends on the reasonableness of the perceived threat. So they're gonna argue. They're gonna argue. The state, remember, it's the state. If the judge approves a self-defense case, the state's gonna argue he never felt like his life was in danger. He might have felt like he'll get a black eye. He might feel like he would have been thrown on the ground and humiliated. But the state's going to be like, yo, he never felt like that his life was in danger. That's what they're going to most likely position, of course, better than what I just expressed. Provocation. If evidence suggests that Anthony provoked the confrontation or escalated the situation, his claim of self-defense may be undermined. So that's why I say like the statement, touch me and see what happens. If he admits to that, then that may be provocation. Okay, maybe not. Conclusion. Given the circumstances, Anthony's claim of self-defense under Texas law faces significant challenges. Though proportionality of the response and the nature of the threat will be central to the legal proceeding. So, in other words, he has some difficult obstacles to maneuver through, but he still has a chance, right? He still has a chance to win. So it's saying like basically you won't know until trial start or charges drop or if a plea is copped. So Corey, that's what you got to do. Something like that. All right. So let me read a couple more comments and then we're out of here. You know, Pablo say found the information. Pablo, you've been providing misinformation ever since I ever known of you. Majority lemons, or maybe when okay, so you give them hypotheticals. So Metcalf watched him take off the bag, stood there and waited to get stabbed. Brother, that's a question for the jury, not for myself. You know, the prosecutor is going to ask Anthony how was he holding the knife? that gives the defense a chance to prove heights and strength of both sides to twins versus. Well, no, I don't believe the prosecution is going to ask them any question that's going to favor the defense. And on top of that, it's not guaranteed that young Carmelo Anthony will take the stand because remember, being cross-examined, man, so many people don't do well. Grown-ups don't do well, you know. So that's not something easy. But he seems like his level-headedness, the way he handled it, I think he would actually do well in a cross-examination. Given the facts that he admitted, like, nah, I did that, but self-defense, the way he, handled when they arrested him, he seems like he's like well trained, well educated, well groomed. So he might do well during the cross examination. And the main thing during a cross examination, the main thing is just don't lie. Stick to your story. That's all. Stick to your original story. Because when you start mixing things up, adding to, you're done. That's anybody. That's when the state. That's even when Carmelo lawyer, defense attorney starts to cross-examine the witnesses because they got to sit down. See, that's the difference. Carmelo don't have to sit down and can win, but those witnesses they got to all sit down. Or I don't think can win. I don't think the state can win. So witnesses they have to sit down. Carmelo does not. That's the advantage that he has. I don't have to sit down and be cross-examined, but those witnesses do. And that is Carmelo's defense attorney job to cook them. If they are indeed lying and got gaps, he's going to, and I'm sure they got a great lawyer, so they are going to cook those witnesses if they are not being truthful. He's going to cook them. So again, that's a huge plus for Carmelo. He does not have to be cross-examined, but all of those witnesses do. And I've seen witnesses get barbecued. Okay, going back to the South River stabbing, those witnesses got cooked. We don't got to take your wrench. You could just go. I'm not emotional like you, my boy. How old are you? 14? You can't handle a controversial conversation. I don't got to take your wrench. You just can go, unsubscribe, get out of here. I don't got to take your wrench. I hate when people do that. When they want to leave, I'm leaving. Just leave. You can't handle a mature conversation. Get out of here, man. Nobody catering to y'all. I'm gonna read the facts as they're stated, and I kept saying we'll see as more facts are revealed. And in between then, we all have opinions on what we're seeing. They're getting all emotional. You can take my wrench, yo. No, just get out of here, bro. Just get out of here. All right. So on that note, I'm gonna get out of here. I think I said enough. Anything else? I'll be talking to more circles, and we'll see. We'll see what else comes out. All right. So to the mature folks, peace. To the immature kids out there, whatever.